I'm Gloria Strode, and welcome to Straightforward. I am so excited today to be with my amazing friend who has just got his contract renewed by the citizens, the one and only Buddy Bryan, our awesome coroner. I am so excited. Bless your heart. You know you worked hard. You were out there night and day. You put every young person to shame because a lot of them, when they are on the ballot, to be reconsidered and to have their contracts renewed, they think it's all social media. But every part of town, because it's citywide, every part of town that I rode through just checking to get a feel, you had a sign, and as my husband said to you in a sidebar, it was like you had gremlins somewhere that they were just putting the signs up every day. I mean, you left no stone unturned, and you worked very hard. And of course, you worked hard in the role anyway. But even in the midst of all of the work with the job, you were on the ballot and you worked hard there too.
Well, Laura, you're very observant, but you're correct. I didn't take anything for granted. God is my pilot.
Yes.
And he had me out there hustling every day to out-campaign my opponent, which we did. We won, and I'm just extremely pleased and thankful to the citizens of Columbus who had the confidence in
to
me.
Renew your contract for
Absolutely.
4 more years.
Yeah, well, they love me and I love them. We're just all one big happy family.
Yes.
She got some votes, but that's okay.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't get
because people, and there, people have their own social circle.
Yeah.
But a lot of people knew your work from over the years.
Correct.
Being in the community and showing up at the toughest times.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know people personally, and I expressed this to the other candidate when they reached out to me.
Right.
And I was very clear because anybody know me, it's just like this show, I'm straightforward. I don't do smoke and mirrors. I don't throw a rock and hide my hand. I was very upfront about you and why I was supporting you. Because over the years, I have known you to have to show up at someone's house. And regardless of the zip code, you have treated everyone with compassion, love, and respect.
Amen.
I have never had anyone tell me anything other than that. Because sometimes people depends on the zip code as to how they show up and do their job. Well, with you, whether it was a mother who had a child that took a wrong turn and was a part of a gang,
yes, ma'am,
or if it was some very affluent person who passed away in their mansion, you were always the same.
Well, it's all about respect, and I was brought up by good parents, and that's the way I feel about people. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. All that shouldn't come into play when it comes to death by any means.
Exactly.
And I don't care
because at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's the end for everybody.
Amen.
It is. So it won't matter about your social status, your zip code, or anything.
No, ma'am.
But at least you have the heart and the wisdom to understand that regardless, that's about some person's loved one.
It is.
Yeah,
and
it is.
You do the right thing. I started working in a funeral home when I was 14, so I've been in the industry 60 years. In the death industry, as I call it, because that's what we do. We take care of the deceased. We pay respect to the families. We make the right decision. And I've got a great team. I've got a young team, and they're well trained and experienced and knowledgeable. They depend on me for my expertise, and I appreciate that.
And your leadership.
Well,
and they have to follow what you set.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what I love about Elizabeth. Her thing is she's like my boss, and he's the best boss. And we treat people with dignity, respect, compassion, and love.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've seen her making calls, because you'll see the little car, and then I told her when I visited with her once, she stepped out, I thought, my God, she looked like a model. She was just so glamorous, she didn't fit what people would think she would look like. It's like, okay, is she in Hollywood, and she's really doing this job? But just an awesome team. Your administrative support. She's always so very patient with me when I call up, like I think I'm on this team. And she would say, well, you can call anytime, Miss Gloria. So you've put together a good team.
Right.
And I'm happy that the citizens could see what you brought to the community for all citizens and that they renewed your contract. So let's move to, we have just really had a lot going on in the city. I know that they have put a lot in place to try to deter and stop some of the violence.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know in your life's work since 14, it has to be tough when you're dealing with the young people who haven't even started to live. And so we just had a tragic thing with a kid and a drowning that involved other kids. And we got a lot of homicide, murders.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as the gang came in, when one of our former mayors did away with the gang and drug task force, it opened the gates and allowed gangs to come in from Atlanta, New Orleans, places like that. And they're recruiting.
So these are not all local people.
No,
they moved in because this was fresh territory.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. We're in the center of the city where drug trafficking can go up and down the highway.
Exactly.
And they're recruiting these younger kids, and I think part of the initiation is to kill somebody. They don't care what color they are, what their status is, or how old they are. They're just going to kill them.
That's a part of the initiation.
Yes, ma'am.
I was told.
From what I understand now, I'm not in that.
That's not your area of expertise, but that's what you learned as being out on the street.
Yes, ma'am. That's for sure. Greg Countryman, our sheriff, who I endorsed and very proud of, has done an excellent job. He and his deputies in controlling a lot of it. The numbers are coming down.
Okay.
Our new police chief, he's got his staff built up finally after several years of being really way down. And it's making a difference. But not only that, it's the citizens of Columbus that are standing up.
And saying, we're not having this. You're not taking over our city. This is where we live.
That's correct. And I'm so proud of them for that. That takes leadership as well.
Sure it does.
Time, dedication to get out and get the volunteers, work the streets, have programs for these children. I'm invited several times during the year to speak to children in high schools.
That's important.
About the violence. And
well, it's important for them to see you. Because you would be the last person to, at the end of the day. So if they see you and hear what you got to say, that, as they say, that's keeping it real.
Well, they think they can live forever, just like you and I probably thought.
And when we were young, it didn't have any sense.
But we know there is a difference. We know that you are going to die one of these days. That God's going to pull your number. Don't try to rush it up by joining the gang and being influenced by those that don't have your
best interests at heart.
Absolutely not.
And it seems like some of them are getting younger and younger and younger, and we really have to figure out a way to redirect them from that path.
Yeah, you know, leadership by the parents, mine and your parents.
It's a different generation.
Absolutely. And we knew to come in before dark, or else you slept on the front porch.
That's right.
That's no doubt about that. I want to talk to also about these accidental overdoses.
Okay, well, what we're going to do, I know that's a big issue.
Yes, ma'am.
But we're going to go to the break to the sponsors and we'll come right back.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors.
Straightforward is brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front lines for veterans every day. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided. A touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road. Trusted by generations. Whole Patient Healthcare. Dr. Jada Rimes-Bacote is board certified in family medicine. She believes the best patient care includes practical, individualized lifestyle changes. Located at 1338 13th Avenue, Columbus, 706-641-2080, or visit wholepatienthealthcare.com.
And welcome back to Straightforward with Gloria Strode, and we are here at the coroner's office with the fabulous coroner, Buddy Bryan. The citizens have spoken. They renewed your contract. And from day one, you've been boots on the ground. You never sleep. You're all over the place. In addition to dealing with suicides, homicides, and just regular people that pass away.
Yes, ma'am.
You're just working nonstop. We have another crisis in the community. We got the gang thing going on, but I did learn from Dana Willoughby at drug court. She's the coordinator of the accountability courts, that we have a big issue with the fentanyl And then she wrote a grant for the Narcan or whatever that is,
Oh, yeah.
and it's in different places, and she'll pass it out for free. I didn't realize we had that big of an issue. But you're saying you see it in your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Since Columbus, because we don't report that. We don't report. We do report homicides, but we don't report overdoses. Suicides, either one. No, ma'am. That's more of a sacred thing to me for families and respect.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. I want the word to get out, though, that these young people...
We got an issue, though, see.
We got an
We
issue.
don't have to say who it is or whatever, but...
Well, maybe that's the approach I need to take from now on.
Right.
Just let the citizens know what we've had.
Create an awareness.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good point, Gloria. I think I'll put that in my speed dial to the media.
Right.
Let's
you have
get
to
that
do
out
that.
on the street.
You
That's
have
a
to
good
create
point.
an awareness that it is an issue.
Yes, ma'am.
And because I'm really naive, I thought even with the people that you see vaping, I thought it was the strawberry flavors and
Yes, ma'am.
all of those things you would see on a commercial. Well, I learned in a meeting with the accountability courts that, no, it's a whole lot of things, synthetic,
Yeah.
all of these synthetic
Opiates.
drugs and opioids and things. So you're seeing that.
I am, and I appreciate you bringing that point up because it's not something we've been trying to keep it under the cover, you know. But now I'm bound and determined. Let's get it out there and let the people know about it. Narcan does not affect fentanyl.
Oh, really?
It does not. No, ma'am. It'll bring a child out of an overdose of methamphetamine. But
see, I'm out of touch
So
with
no.
that, and I was an old social worker, so I should know these things. I'm not in that capacity anymore. But I think we have to educate and create an awareness because if you're old school like us, what you think you're looking at is not what you're looking at. I even made the observation that we were traveling and we walked out of a building and they were smoking marijuana, but it didn't smell like marijuana. And so I shared that with Dana Willoughby, and she said, no, it's because it has been treated with the synthetic whatever else that they're using.
Right.
And so parents need to know that.
Very true. And, you know, now that you brought it up and enlightened me a lot, I'm thinking about suicides as well. I think we need to be more outgoing to the public about suicide.
Right.
Ask for help. Talk to somebody about it.
Right. It create an awareness because a lot of parents don't know what that looks like. And I think with the suicides with Robin Williams, which we loved him, he was this wonderful comedian,
Absolutely.
just always had this smile, but behind the smile was the pain.
That's
and
right.
so the world was really stunned, you know, when he, you know, ended his own life. So parents are often so busy or have never experienced or been involved in different things in life till it could be sitting right there and they wouldn't know what that looks like.
Well, very true. We see it on a daily basis. People wouldn't believe that we see somewhere between 75 and 80 suicides a year.
Really?
And it's from young to old.
In Muscogee County?
In Muscogee County. Same thing with overdoses, yes ma'am.
Really?
Everybody wants to focus on homicides, but we do about 1,250 death investigations a year.
Really?
Homicides is a small portion, so is overdoses, so is suicide. And the rest are natural causes.
Right.
Which we understand that, you know, we're subject to that.
So when you go in, you're determining if it's the suicide. It's not always just the police.
Oh, it's not their job.
Okay, see, a lot of folks don't understand whose job that is.
Yeah.
So you come in and you assess what that is, or you come in and it's an overdose, and you will say to the law enforcement, this is what this is.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, they always go to the crime lab and all of that. And
right. We take all the necessary steps to prove, you know, the manner and cause of death. There's only 5 manners of death: homicide, suicide, accidental, undetermined, and natural.
Okay.
So, you know.
So what is an undetermined?
Well, most of that is infants.
Okay.
Co-sleeping.
Okay.
Sudden unexplained infant
Right,
death
infants,
syndrome.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Where they can't determine exactly why. We know what it is. It's asphyxiation.
Right.
You know, the mother falls asleep with a child breastfeeding and the baby suffocates.
Really?
Or they've got pillows or little stuffed bunny rabbits or blankets in the crib with them. That's a big no-no.
See, you got to teach the young parents that. They don't know that.
Well, we go out into the community and we do talk to them ourselves, but we're just a small team.
Right. So it's not always good, because when I had my baby, Dr. Chastain, who was one of the best pediatricians in the world, and he had books in the Library of Congress and everything, he said, put the baby in its own bed, in his own room.
Absolutely.
He told us that. he said, and we were new parents, and my husband, this big ego, his son, and he's this little military infantry officer, and beating his chest, he had a son, and it was like, no, not in the room, in their own space, which was very good advice. But I don't hear people teaching that anymore. Right. And so the sudden infant death, it could come from just thinking you being a good parent and just made a bad.
Yeah, they sure don't mean to do it. Now, we have had some what we call baby shaking syndrome, where they shake the baby and the brain bounces around inside the cranium and causes subdural hematoma, things of that nature. But most of it's just co-sleeping and not being educated. These young mothers nowadays,
they don't, and they're younger and younger.
Younger and younger.
Yeah, and so we need to. That's another thing. So we need to talk about the fentanyl and what are the signs of that and what does that look like? And what's the age group with that? Is it old people like us or just young folks?
Well, it's not necessarily young, anywhere from 27 to 55.
Really?
Yes, ma'am, that's for sure. It's amazing. As you know, I work at a funeral home as well. I'm a licensed embalmer and funeral director, and quite often we'll have someone come through there from another county, but yet the folks live here, so we handle the services that are overdose. Yes,
55?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, and you wonder about that.
I know. So do you think it's untreated other mental health? Because what we find is with our soldiers, former soldiers, with PTSD, they self-medicate. We do know that. Some is with alcohol or, opioids or something like that. So are we seeing veterans or just 55-year-old old people?
Well, I very rarely see a veteran that overdoses.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely not. No, they'll commit suicide.
Okay.
But overdoses, it would be very rare.
Really?
But it is people that were brought up and the doctor prescribed pain medication to them all their life, and then they just want a bigger high and a better high, and it just goes from here to there.
Right. Wow, that is really something. Okay, so what we're going to do is go to our last break to our sponsors, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors.
David Benefield at the historic Highland Hall, florist extraordinaire, making dreams come true for all occasions. Visit David and his team today at 1504 17th Street or call 706-324-4881, where happiness blooms. Barbara's Cleaning Service, a 5-star commercial service with satisfied customers in Georgia and South Carolina, built on the principle that every detail matters. Barbara's Cleaning Service, a new season building a family legacy.
And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm really enjoying this wonderful visit with my awesome friend, Buddy Bryan, our amazing coroner. He's there when no one else wants to be, the messenger. I know where you've had to show up and tell mothers about their sons. You've been in my subdivision, and one of our awesome neighbors who patrol the neighborhood to make sure people wasn't speeding through there. And when I saw you at our house one day, I thought, oh my God. So my husband teases me now. He said, you're speeding through here, but Miss Annalisa see you speeding. But Miss Annalisa moved from work to reward, and you were just always kind, always show up, try to smile and help people through, give them a word of encouragement, and that's what's important. So out on the campaign trail this last time, I know you learned a lot, heard a lot from the citizens. Share some of that with us.
Well, fortunately, I have run unopposed for 3 elections, and this one put me to work. And it made me realize that I am not invincible.
Right.
That even though God is my pilot and the citizens, have the trust and confidence in me, that you have to get out and you have to work. But some of the questions that citizens asked were real good questions. One was, how can you better your department? My answer was, well, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it.
Exactly.
But with our conversation this morning, you have brought to light the fact that you need to hear what they are asking and reflect on it. Talk more about suicide, talk more about overdoses, talk more about sudden infant death syndrome.
Right.
So that's one thing that we'll do. And so the citizens of Columbus are helping to make me a better person, and to make my department a better functioning unit within the community.
Right.
And I appreciate that.
So it won't just limit your role to the person that shows up at the end of the road. Right. You're going to educate and
Be
inform,
proactive,
right,
yes, ma'am.
and create an awareness. Because a lot of the young parents, young people, they're from a different generation. And a lot of things that we were taught in our communities and village is different. They don't have the community. They don't have the village. And I think the most recent thing that just totally devastated me when I saw in the news where we had children involved with the murder of another child. And then one of the children was as young as 9 years old. Well, I was a juvenile trapper before. And so, you know, I was the person that would go visit them at home, because if they didn't go to, you know, the YDC for the kids, then they would be visited by a trapper until they went to juvenile court. And I was thanking God. I was like, God, I'm glad I'm not at that stage in life, because that would have been too much for me. How do you deal with that with a 9-year-old?
Yeah.
So you're seeing everything from the littlest to the oldest. What's the youngest case you've ever dealt with people? Is it younger than 9, besides the infants, because they can't? You know?
Well, yeah, besides the infants. You know, I've actually had children as young as 5 or 6 accidentally shoot themselves when their father's left a gun laying on a coffee table.
See?
He's out in the backyard smoking marijuana.
See, so we need to educate on that. That's another thing.
That's another thing.
Yeah, so we got to get you on the circuit with that. We
Yes,
really
ma'am.
do. Not just in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get you in the faith-based communities, because a lot of the churches, I know I grew up in the church, so they had
Absolutely.
the youth departments, the young, whatever, Christian ministry, no, what is it? The Board of Christian Education, that's what it is. All of those things, people need to hear that, because, yeah, the gun was in the house, the daddy didn't give it to the child, but it was left unsupervised.
Absolutely.
And all it takes is what? Just one slip.
One slip, no doubt about it. But I'm going to ask the citizens of Columbus to talk to their ministers and the leaders and invite me,
Yes.
personally call me. I've got an open door policy. Invite me to come speak at your meetings, things of that nature.
Right.
Let's get the word out there. I know we've got some great support groups now out dealing with the crime, and we can bring me into it on that end as well.
On that end as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know you are invited to schools and things like that.
Right. Yes.
But then we got a whole nother segment of folks that never get engaged. So we need, you know, activities in the public housing.
Oh, yeah.
All of the different, the boys club, the girls club, because the drugs does not discriminate.
No,
The
ma'am.
guns won't. And then peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
See, the peer pressure is a very serious thing.
Oh,
and I
absolutely.
saw that as a social worker.
Right.
I saw other kids that joined up with a group because they didn't want to be left out. I've seen them where they start using drugs because they wanted to be with the cool kids, which really wasn't so cool. You know, so we got a whole lot of things. And then working at the DFACS, I worked there, the young mothers. So if you have a mother that's a teenage mother, she wouldn't know about the sudden infant death.
No, she wouldn't. So I'm going to make a point of the next 4 years.
And Elizabeth would be good with that, because she is just so fabulous, and women love her. I mean, you can do it too.
Yeah.
But it sometimes people receive better when the person,
Exactly.
like when you're talking to a mother about a baby, it's like,
Right.
okay, but if you breastfeeding your baby, they don't need to sleep in the bed with you.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? That's an easier conversation sometimes.
Well, she's a
among
great
girls.
educator,
Right.
no doubt about it.
Right.
She's a nurse, so she's well
Right,
qualified.
and that's how you found
Yeah,
her. She
that's
told me
right.
she was working in the hospital.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we need to take all of these brilliant minds you have. You all are wonderful public servants, and let's just get the word out there and educate people so we can try to cut back and then help the parents to understand the things they need to be looking for. Because I wouldn't know what to look for. My kid is 40 years old. He has 4 kids. So it's a different generation. So any parting words before we run out of time that you want to share with the citizens about you, your team, any wisdom?
Well, one thing I really tried to drive home during this last campaign was experience does matter, people.
It does.
You know, you better have some experience and knowledge when you're in this position, because you're dealing with people's lives.
Yes.
The survivors' lives.
Mhm.
And we have to speak for the dead. And I don't put any stigmatism on somebody if they've overdosed. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it with the parents or their siblings because of the circumstances. we are going to bring awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to thank the citizens for their trust and confidence in me. God is my pilot, and I'm going to go through the next 4 years stronger than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully again in 2028, my health holds out, and if people want me, I'll be here for them again.
Well, we already know that because, you know, you got favor. So we know you'll be here. And, you know, wisdom will tell people this is not a check the box position to run for. This is real work. Day and night, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day.
Yes, ma'am.
This is tough work.
It's very tough work, mentally and physically.
Exactly.
One of the hardest part of this job is to call a family member and let them know that their loved one's dead. I had to do that 2 times yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, family lived in North Carolina. The lady lived here, was found dead in her bed, and I had to call the legal next of kin and let them know. That's the hardest part of the job, but you better be caring and compassionate when you do it, because it means a lot to the families. It can make a big difference in every
Exactly.
action.
And you have to have a heart to really be a true servant.
Yes, and be honest with the family. You know what happened. Be honest with them about it. Don't hide anything. Be straight up and down.
Well, I thank you. I just think
thank
you are
you.
Amazing, and I appreciate the kindness and the love that you show to all the citizens.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've heard it from every zip code, so I can speak to it. Just know I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders, and I'm going to roll with you, and I'm going to be behind you and your team, cheering you all the way. And we thank you so much
Gloria,
for all
for
that you
having
do.
me.
All right, thank you. This has been Straightforward. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Until next time, be blessed.
What up, world? What's up, Columbus? Be sure to tune in every Sunday, Straightforward with Gloria Strode, right here on NBC 38.